Good afternoon, everybody. I hope we've had a very good lunch. We've had a very nice dialogue. I was just telling Mirani sir that we are very passionate group of individuals here, which really want to do what's right for not just for ourselves, but for our workforce, that which is a very large workforce, as Chairman sir always tells us. And how do we do that? That's the way we were trying to arrive together, and that's why we're so passionate and high on energy about finding the right path to it. While we put this across, if I can just request the AV team to put the slides. I thought it'll be nice to put some slides together, so you're able to see what I'm thinking about, what I wanted to share with all of you today. While a lot of the conversation this afternoon was, so while a lot of the conversation this afternoon that we've just had is about how does the security industry work more effectively and in a very engaging manner with the public sector units of our country, the government sector, which is a very large user of our service. How do we standardize those services? How do we create higher quality barriers? How do we ensure that fly-by-night operators don't get the best of the government's money and our taxpayer money collectively? I also want to bring our attention to the fact that there is another very large group of of customers that consumes our service every day. This is the private sector, which I believe on the other side, as a comparison to the government sector, has evolved quite significantly. It's evolved quite significantly in many ways. They've understood that they need quality. They understood what quality looks like. They've started having that discussion with us. They've started figuring out, in terms of quality, what does quality look like? What does training look like? Is the 160 hours of PASARA mandated training adequate enough? Are the wages adequate enough? Do we need to have warm bodies sitting on a chair, standing at a door and exit? Or do we need people who have higher skill level? So this is the dialogue that I wanted to have with all of you today and share some of my learnings and ideas that I've noticed, and hopefully bring about a fresh perspective towards this. So before I jump right into it, I thought I'll put together a snapshot of what we used to be earlier. We used to be an industry where we were very heavily reliant on manpower. That's great advantage. We had low wages level, so you could leverage having greater workforce. India as a country, public sector, private sector was evolving. We ended up having a very localized, siloed approach. Every city, every state, every little plant on the site takes their own decisions. So we became very siloed. And technology was not something that we all matured up to, including our customers. So technology for them meant wireless sets at best at some point of time. This is the history of where we come from as a security industry. As the industry has evolved, we've now seen more of technology, and people are now, maybe it's an advent or a function of a healthcare crisis of COVID that we have come through, where a customer wants to know, tell me, how can I use technology, and what is that technology that I can use in my space? They also have come awoken to a reality, which is a sad and challenging reality, that wages in India for security guards have doubled in the last 10 years. They're growing every year, and our customers do not have the ability to expand their security portfolio budgets every year as quickly as we are asking them to spend. So how do we overcome that? They're also facing the challenge of accountability. I have 6 plants, one in Gujarat, one in Punjab, one in Haryana, one in Tamil Nadu. How do I make sure that I have accountability of the service? How do I make sure that the technology that you're giving me has an ROI? It's wonderful for us to say, I can give you all this wonderful technology. We can put cameras. There'll be machine learning. There'll be artificial intelligence. For all that I care, we'll put blockchain on it. Not that you understand what blockchain is, but the customer now wants to do, what is my return on investment for the money that you're asking me to spend? So with that said, the industry today is going through a silent revolution. Our customers have evolved. We're having to evolve ourselves to work to a higher standard of labor compliance. The new labor wage code is a function of that. The fact that GeM exists today as a marketplace for public sector to look at our services tells you that the market's evolving. That's the first step. I think that's what Mr. Virani is working on is the first step of what private sector has already done. If we go through that journey and understand what is the expectation they're now asking for, they're asking for man tech solution. So how do I add technology in the hand of a man? So I know he's able to perform his duties. I'm able to know what he's doing day to day. What are those 8 hours getting me? That's how we used to think about 8 hours of duty is what I have to give. But even now wants to know what is that 8 hours get back to me? Is the number of people that I have adequate, too much, too little? The customer wants to know about that. He's now demanding, not requesting us a higher skill level. So whether it's the 160 hour or, as the chairman this morning mentioned about the 400-hour requirement that the industry may be asked to work towards, he's asking for skill sets, the soft and the hard together. And how do we arrive to that? He's also asking for standard operating procedures. That's a new lesson that we're now learning thanks to, again, COVID. Business continuity plans and SOPs are now everyday jargon for us. But he wants to know, are our people able to deploy businesses with this SOP? So what do we have to do? This is how I see the problem being solved. We need to now spend time understanding our customers. And we can't use the same, one size fits all approach. One guard, 160 hour is good for everything. Anywhere in the country, no matter where you are, there has to be differentiation between what our customer wants. So as a journey, different customers will have different size and scales of their businesses. They will have different operational flows. You can't compare a BPO or IT company to a manufacturing facility. Actually, in a manufacturing facility, you can't compare a two-wheeler to a four-wheeler factory. They're very different in terms of what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. So from that regard, we have to understand our customers. We need to understand what are the needs that they're looking for and how do we solve those needs. Now, I thought I'll give you a very short example. When we look at an FMCG client, let's just take an example of a company called Dabur. When you and I think of Dabur, what we don't think about is Dabur has multiple factories. So just to give you a perspective, Dabur in India has 14 lakh square feet of space that some security company somewhere has to manage. Of this 14 lakh square feet of space, there are 35 locations that they manage from in 16 cities. Within these 16 cities, there are factories, there are offices, there are warehouses. All have very different functions. But at the end of the day, the customer needs have evolved from input to output. He's now asking for, can you tell me about cost optimizations across the 3 different layers or locations that I work from? He's asking for standardization. What kind of standardization will I get? Will I have the same level of service at all of my factories at the same time? Can I know how many trucks have left and arrived at my factory, taking my product in and out? He's asking for benchmarking. How am I doing versus my peers? How is Honda doing versus Maruti Suzuki? How is Dabur doing versus Unilever? He wants to know about that. And finally, he wants to know, how are you going to bring technology into my space and bring the optimization that you've commented to me? Now, I've done a very short example of what a factory may look at. So in factories, for the same company, FMCG company called Dabur, as an example, they want to know what technology are you going to put? Are you going to put more patrolling? Are you going to put guard tour management systems? So I have actual real-time data of my people patrolling my site. Are you going to put CCTVs? Who's monitoring that CCTVs? Is that physical 8-hour monitoring, which, as many of us know, is not very feasible? He wants to know, how are we going to move away from those hundreds of paper registers? There's a register for fire, there's a register for theft, there's a register for every small little activity that goes on. How are you going to automate it? Because if you can't automate it, all I'm really hiring from you is not a guard, but a data entry operator who puts physical notes in a diary. He's asking us for an output. I don't want theft. This is how much of product I lose every day, every week, every month through theft, pilferages. I want it to be zero. Now, easier said than done. We may say that's not possible to make it zero. Well, can you reduce it by 10%? And what can I do to do it? And I want to measure it. These are the problems that customers today are evolving. And as you look at this problem, they're moving from input, 100 guard laga do. 200 गार्ड की कॉस्ट बता दो, तो मुझे ये आउटपुट चाहिए, दिस इज द आउटपुट आई वांट technology to be invested so that my guard is not doing visitor management all day. I want a real-time record of every material that moves in and out of my factory. I want my theft to be down by 50%. He's asking us for an output. He's not asking us for an input anymore. And I think that's the journey that we'll have to evolve as an industry, as an organized market. Because if we don't do that, we'll be stuck at providing security guards and not what I call what our customers are needing today, security officers. They're asking for us officers, sir. Mirani sir, you'll have to probably evolve GEM over the period that they don't need guards anymore. They need security professionals and security officers.
Just to add, maybe next month we are launching a new service for security solution.
Thank you, sir.
So it is not about guards. Anybody can hire a security solution. So he will take care of everything, whether it's CCTV or guards or whatever security arrangement is required, the complete solution.
So thank you, sir, for mentioning that. That already tells us that customers are maturing. And the message that I was trying to share, thank you for reaffirming that the government and the buyers are moving to that message that we need a solution and not just an input of guards and supervisors. So what I've put on the screen is maybe some ideas in terms of what our customers want to see for technology. They want to know how we can create an output mechanism out of it. But at the end of the day, what we'll have to understand is as we move through this journey of input to output, manpower to solution, we'll have to figure out the technology integration. That's a problem that we'll have to solve. And I think in a large way, the discussion today, I think earlier today, Chairman Sir on Refine, speaks about that. They're speaking about how do we make the guard more active, engaged. You can do digital onboarding. That's part of the journey. Similarly, our customers will like to see the ROI of the solution that they have bought. You can charge them more, but they just need to know the output. And maybe as you explain them through the journey of how the output will be arrived, you will be able to price them higher. You will be able to convince those buyers, as many of my colleagues spoke about, why they need to pay a higher rate, why 0.001% is not enough. Because we're not just looking at manpower cost plus a service charge, we're looking at a solution in a package. And in this solution as a package, if we can deliver cost savings, reduction in theft, real ROI, an output-based solution, I think we would make a tremendous move forward in what we can do as an aggregate, as an industry, as a body, and we would have a much more respected space for ourselves, and will be truly be called the subject matter experts that we are today. Thank you very much.